Three, two, one. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Talk Soccer to Me. Today is Monday, August 24th. We're back. Soccer's back. Soccer's fully back. We had the first weekend of the Premier League, first weekend of Serie A, the first weekend where everyone in Spain's now played a game. The German season kicked off with the German Super Cup, which I believe is now the Franz Beckenbauer Cup, and we got action started in France. First round of games over there as well. So that's what we're going to go over today. That's going to be the gist of Monday episodes going forward this season is what happened over the weekend. First up, we're going to start in the Premier League. Obviously, it's the big league. First game, champions of the Premier League versus the champions of the championship. Arsenal were hosting Coventry City, and it wasn't particularly close. Arsenal wasted no time with the goals. Kai Havertz in the 15th minute got a nice first-time finish from Ricardo Calafiori to open up the scoring. And then in the 23rd minute, Bukayo Saka got at the end of a Christos Solis cross that was deflected by the Coventry keeper right into the path of Bukayo Saka in front of an open goal. Right after halftime, Martin Odegaard kind of mishit it in such a way that worked out, put it right past the Coventry keeper, and that was the final score in this one, Arsenal 3, Coventry 0. It was a tale of two teams. If this isn't a welcome to the Premier League, I don't know what is. There were a lot of situations where I felt as though Coventry probably could have done what they did and gotten away with that in a championship level game. There were just like a couple attacks by Coventry that didn't really link up perfectly. Slight defensive errors. It was a matter of inches on the first goal for Arsenal. They barely got the ball back in the corner. Calafiori played an inch perfect pass that evaded every defender, and then Havertz with an inch perfect shot that the Coventry keeper had no chance. So I think they'll be all right. I do. I think Arsenal looked great. Arsenal looked fantastic. That's now 6 goals in 2 games, all from open play. Christos Solis on the left looks fantastic. He's just so direct. It feels like he wants to go, go, go. I've seen some comparisons online to Alexis Sanchez, which is an interesting comparison. I never really thought that one, but the shorter build, the way they like to cut in, the way they're just really not afraid to take a defender on. He looked great in his second appearance for the club. And yeah, this was a team, they did bring in Rice and Saka in the starting 11 compared to the Community Shield, but again, still no Saliba. The depth that they were able to bring in off the bench was just fantastic. And yeah, I don't really think Coventry ever got a serious sniff of goal, ever thought they were going to win. I wanted to give them the chance, but I think maybe had this been different, maybe it had been in Coventry instead of the Emirates. It had been different, but it wasn't. Arsenal whooped their ass. They were much better. I don't really think that comes as a surprise to anyone. And yeah, there really wasn't much to talk about. The second half felt like a friendly because it was pretty just one-sided at that point. So yeah, that was the first game of the weekend. That was the Friday opener. I think they did that last year, and they've done that in years before, where the Friday opens up with the Premier League champions playing the championships champions, which is really exciting. I meant actually on Friday to release a video with my Premier League predictions, so I'll put that at the end. And I swear to God, I wrote it before I knew what was happening this weekend. Some some results actually I feel like validate what I was trying to say, and I feel as though some results contradict my original predictions. But then we moved to the Saturday. We've got the second game that we're going to talk about. For those of us who woke up early in the States, myself included, Manchester United were traveling to Hull City to Manchester's God, I'm slipping over myself, but I don't edit. I don't edit anymore. I just roll with it. Manchester United traveled to Hull City to play the team that everyone thinks is finishing 20th, including the team that I think is finishing 20th in Hull City. So coming into it, it was 7:30 in the morning. Game was on USA. I was expecting to see a lot like what I saw the day before with Arsenal because I think a lot of people, myself included, have been kind of riding a high that is Manchester United. I'm a little worried about what European competition is going to do, but I like their signings. I like Tielemans. I like Santos. Rashford coming back kind of is like a new signing. They were probably paying his wages the entire time, but it's a player that wasn't there last year and in pretty already dynamic attack. So then to watch the game, Hull City go up 1-0. Yeah, it was on a corner, but it was a poorly defended corner. And then in the 38th minute, they go down again. Second half, they're willing to sit back, absorb, nothing Manchester United could do. Really poor performance from the midfield and attack. And the final in this one was Hull City 2, Manchester United 0. I mean, I know it's the Premier League. I know a million times this season we're going to be like, I didn't see that one coming, but I generally did not see that one coming. I thought it was inconceivable that Manchester United were going to lose this weekend. And yeah, United had an advantage in a lot of the statistical categories, your expected goals, touches in the box, momentum, whatever, but it was never too particularly threatening. Yes, in the long run, statistics, the ball will go in, whatever. Ball went in a lot last year. But it felt like Hull City kind of had Manchester United figured out. That five in the back was very similar to what that preseason game, AC Milan, Amorim. It felt like United weren't dealing with the width well. Defensively, there were a lot of gaps on both the right and the left. Aiden Heaven, I mean, he's a young center back, he's like 19. He looked a little in over his head. I had Manchester United friends who were very displeased with the performance Heaven put in, though I think the kid will fix it going forward. The probably most concerning thing was the midfield from Manchester United in this game, Tielemans and Santos. But I don't know. I mean, it's the first game of the season. I like to think with time they'll come together more. But there was one concerning thing for me in this game, and I felt like it was effort. It felt to me that Hall wanted it more. Now, they were at home, they had the fans behind them. Hall really shouldn't be in the Premier League to begin with. And just from the fact of how they performed in the championship last season and to have won the playoffs and get in that position. So yeah, the fans were rowdy. The crowd was loving it. They announced that the trains back to Manchester were canceled and the Hull City fans all went crazy, whatever. But yeah, no, it kind of felt like an Amorim era United game and not a Carrick era United game. There were second balls that they weren't winning. There was effort in the midfield. It looked like there were 1 or 2 times Tielemans was walking when he definitely should have been running. I don't know. I don't want to overreact. I always say that. I always say I don't want to overreact, but it was concerning from United. It was a really poor way to open the season. A season where they're riding a lot of momentum with Bruno winning all the awards he did last season, coming off of third place, being back in the Champions League. This is not the start that I think many fans were expecting or hoping for. Next up on Saturday, there are 3 games at the same time. Fortunately for me, like I had the Peacock subscription, so I was able to watch all 3 at the same time. They do like the goal rush. And it's really weird. It's kind of like the NFL Red Zone where you're watching everything that's happening, but you're not really watching any of the games in particular. Like you witness the goals, like you see the goals, but it's really hard to kind of follow what's happening. But when there's 3 games at the same time, and this isn't my full-time job, I don't really have time to watch all of them. There were 3 going on at the same time. It was Everton hosting Crystal Palace, and it was a good performance by Everton. Was Everton hosting Crystal Palace? Yes, they were at the new stadium. They were at the Hill Dickinson Stadium. Goals from Kieran Dewsbury Hall, who had a fantastic performance, and Tierno Barry, who really stepped it up towards the end of the season last year. I know Everton last year really struggled for goals in the first half of the season, and Barry kind of helped that in the second half of the season. Yeah, just took it to Palace. We're the better team, played well, good goals, good start to life for Everton in the Premier League so far this season. The other game going on that Saturday, looking down at my notes, was Ipswich Town hosting Sunderland. Ipswich Town looking at, you want to be the man, you got to beat the man. Last year, Sunderland were the team that everyone was just assuming was going down. And at times, they were like, I think they were sitting in Champions League positions in like November, December. They came out of the gate swinging. They made a million signings. They made smart signings. They played really good soccer last year. I think Ipswich, they had an unsuccessful run in the Premier League 2 or 3 years ago. I think they're really trying to emulate Sunderland. There's been a lot of positivity around the signings they've made so far this season. And with the opportunity of having the first game of the season at home, they won. And they won in pretty dramatic fashion. They opened up the scoring in the 24th minute with Emerson, who was assisted by Julio and Enciso, who I thought was really dynamic. Really, it was actually a really good run by Enciso. It's all coming back to me now. I know I have the notes, but he had a really dynamic World Cup as well. And then a really just gnarly free kick by Sunderland in the 39th minute, Nilson Angulo, to tie the game up in halftime. And in the last minute, 90th minute at home in front of the fans, Jack Clark won the game for Ipswich. And yeah, it was just a fantastic result. Welcome back to the Premier League. You know, there's a lot of expectation that the three teams that were promoted are going to go down. So now we've talked about Hull winning and we've talked about Ipswich winning. Those are two of the teams that people are expecting to go down. They didn't go down. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's a pretty good start. Pretty good start to life. And it wasn't like they, stole it at the last minute. I mean, they did win it at the last minute, but I don't think that Sunderland were necessarily the better team throughout the game. They had a lot of the possession, but when the game was being shifted in the goal rush to the Ipswich Sunderland game, I thought Ipswich's chances were better throughout the game. And again, I'm really excited to watch and see so in the Premier League this season. Should be a fun one. Fun one to watch. We'll keep going. I'm interested. Sunderland, are they in Europe? I should know this. Sunderland are in Europe. They're in the Europa League. In the league phase, they finished 7th last year. So, I don't know. They've been quiet in the transfer market. Like, I'm looking at their team because the team they started is pretty similar to who they had last year. Siddiqui and Xhaka in the midfield with Lafay, Brobby up top, Hume. They do have a new signing, Thomas Meunier. He's still playing soccer, and I guess at a high level because he's back in the Premier League, or maybe in the Premier League for the first time ever. I know he's with PSG. I wonder, has he ever been in the Premier League before? Bruges, PSG, Dortmund, Trabzonspor, Lille, Sunderland. No. So Thomas Meunier, at the ripe old age of 34, is in the Premier League for the first time. Robin Roos, who's a fantastic keeper last season for Sunderland. So I think Sunderland's going to be all right. They had their opportunities. They've got, I think, a good manager, good core. I'm a little worried about the combo that Thursday to Sunday, but we'll get more into that later. And then the other game in that early period was Nottingham Forest hosting Leeds United, two teams that were sitting towards the bottom half of the table last season, several points away from Europe. It was a pretty 50-50 game, just kind of one of those Premier League games that's easy to forget. Not every single game is going to be some amazing 10 out of 10. But in the last minute, 88th minute, Anton Stach won the game for Leeds United, had a pretty good performance, really solid win. Yeah, just good start for Leeds. I think a lot of people are sitting pretty high on Leeds. They won several games towards the end of last season. But yeah, this was tough. This was tough for me in the middle Saturday period because I couldn't watch all three at the same time. What are you going to do? And then the one I did watch towards the end of the day was Brentford hosting Tottenham. Now, I'm sitting really high on Brentford. You're going to hear how high I'm sitting on them, but later, because where they're sitting in my Premier League predictions, it just, the core of that team's still there. They haven't really lost anyone. They've made a couple decent signings. They got a good manager, and they finished 9th last year. They were only 7 points outside of the Champions League. They didn't get into any type of Europe off of goal differential. So I'm really high on them because they're not gonna, they're gonna have the Man United effect. They can rest during the week, and they looked solid. I mean, they beat the shit out of Tottenham. Pardon my French. It wasn't even close. 3-0. Goals in the 12th minute, 33rd minute, and 49th minute. Keane Lewis Potter, Vitaly Janelt, and Michael Coyote. Tottenham had possession, but it was weak. I mean, they didn't even get a sniff of the goal. You look at the XG, it was 3.87 Brentford to 0.5 in Tottenham. Now, I was feeling decent about Tottenham. I liked their signings. I thought they were bringing in Premier League proven players. But I think sometimes we look too much at signings. Like, yeah, they brought in Tonali, Senesi, Robertson. And all those guys started. Robertson and Senesi had good games. But you still have Richarlison, Moore, Bergvall, Tell, Gallagher, Van Hecke, Gray, Kinski. It's a lot of the same core from last year. And I think individually, these aren't bad players. But they're still several signings. They might be a year away. I think they'll benefit from the fact that they're not playing in Europe. But they're a year away. It was rough. It was effort. I mean, there were mistakes. Tottenham were poor, giving up the ball. Yeah, just an all-around really poor performance from Spurs. And that wrapped up the Saturday Premier League games. On Sunday was a fun Sunday. It was a good Sunday. First, you had Brighton Villa. Now, I made a comment like Villa have just been pillaged during this transfer window. They haven't really brought anyone. I mean, they got the young Swiss kid. But yeah, Villa Villa just got the brakes beat off of them in this game. I mean, it was Brighton were just attacking all over them, pressing everything. I mean, it was 4-0 up in the 31st minute. A unfair, unlucky own goal right away, but then Brighton just pounced. It wasn't even fair. Sorry, I kind of had to stop in the middle of that game, so I kind of lost where I was. But yeah, again, this is talk soccer to me. I don't even know if I said that earlier. I think I just jumped right into it. 15 minutes in announcing the show. But yeah, this episode is brought to you by no one because I don't have any sponsors. Would love one. I just want someone to send me football t-shirts, jerseys. It's like my dream. Like I see the older players that just have the massive walls of everyone they've like swapped jerseys with, all the retro jerseys. It is just so cool. It's the best. But the next game on Saturday was Manchester City hosting Bournemouth. This was the tie last year that lost Man City the title as they went to the South Coast against Bournemouth and they drew 1-1, which effectively handed Arsenal the title. Now this year it was in Manchester at the Etihad Stadium. It looked like it was going to be a repeat of bad times for Man City. I mean, they went down in the 26th minute. Really good goal by James Tavernier. Just a low whipped cross across the box, and just the finish on that sliding. Nothing Rico Lewis could have done, nothing Gianluigi Donnarumma could have done. But Man City fought back. I think it was a bit of a statement game from them because you were expecting, like, if Enzo Maresca in his first couple games gets kind of their ass kicked in the Community Shield against Arsenal, and yeah, it is a bit of a friendly, but it was also a bad look. And then to have the season opener at home against Bournemouth and lose that wouldn't have been a good look. But I think they showed some fight. They showed some grit. Gay was able to get lucky and kind of have a wide open header. Then the winning goal by Arvidal was originally ruled offsides, and then it was good. So yeah, I think for the Maresca project, this was a massive step in the right direction. I think it would have seen some overreaction and some narratives that would probably have been unfair, unjust. But two losses in a row or a loss and a draw, it would have just it had got the people going. It wouldn't have been good. But instead, they fought hard. They came back. Positive win. I mean, they were the better team for long periods. I wasn't sure if they were going to get their breakthrough, but they did. Cherky looked all right towards the end of the game. Marquet, good header. But yeah, this was a must win for City. The minute they went down, I mean, every game's a must win, but the minute they went down, they couldn't have walked away with a loss. That just wasn't feasible. Next up on Saturday was Newcastle versus Liverpool. Obviously, all the drama with Alex, Isak, and that whole transfer saga last season definitely gives like a lot of juice. And he from the time he got off the bus, he was being booed by Newcastle fans. They were booing him, jeering him, calling him a rat. I mean, it's a bit harsh considering Liverpool also spent 150 million on him. It's not like he left on a free or something like that. Like they got a lot of money for him. Game started out hot. Anthony Olanga opened the scoring for Newcastle. Just a quick counterattack in the 5th minute. Stayed that way through halftime. Both teams exchanged a series of goals in the 50th minute. Gakpo for Liverpool and Joe Willock. Yeah, that's right, for Newcastle. And then in the final dying moments, Newcastle fouled Liverpool in the box. It was a little bit of a controversial call. I don't really have like a overarching opinion on it. I've seen that called. I've seen that not called. I wouldn't say that's like the most egregious, terrible refereeing decision I've ever seen. But I could see a world where that wasn't a penalty. But Dominic Szoboszlai stepped up, smacked it, top bins, and this one finished 2-2. I think it's a fine result for both teams. Newcastle, you got one of the big dogs to come in your house to get a draw. You looked good at times. They tied it up. You took the lead. I mean, I think Newcastle's obviously going to be massively upset from the fact that they dropped points. But in the grand scheme of things, it is a good result. Liverpool, too, as well. I think this is a Liverpool team that is coming off an incredibly disappointing season, one of the worst defending champion seasons in Premier League history. So I think they're in a little bit of a transition. They're no Mo Salah. They've got a new coach, and St. James's Park's a really tough place to play. A lot of teams go to Newcastle and struggle. So to come back, get that point, the equalizing draw, I think it's all right. I think it was an all right result for Liverpool. They'll take it, and that's fine. So that was the last game on. I think I said Saturday a second ago, and I know that's just wrong. That was Sunday, and then there was one game that I had to kind of go back and watch parts of because when I started recording, it was actually taking place. Fulham versus Chelsea. That was the Monday night game. So let's jump into that one. That's a London derby on the first match week of the season. So this London derby, Chelsea traveling to Fulham, posh old Fulham, finished 3-2 to Chelsea. Just gonna jump right into it. Joao Pedro opened up the scoring right away, like 30 seconds in. And then Fulham fired back. It was kind of a mistake. Josh King's shot was decent, but Robert Sanchez should have done a little bit better. And then Morgan Rogers got a goal. Cole Palmer got a goal. It was a clean finish. Nutmeg, Bernard Leno. And then Fulham got one in the 54th minute. Made it a little more interesting because Sanchez deflection landed right in front of the Fulham player. And he just headed it in. But I think there's one thing that I'll walk away from this game. In the first, Xabi Alonso, I think that's a big thing I have not mentioned so far. In the first game for Chelsea, managed by Xabi Alonso, the front three looked dangerous. Morgan Rogers, Cole Palmer, Joao Pedro. I mean, that's a good front three. Say what you want about Chelsea, that's a good front three. And they look dangerous. They all scored. All three of them scored. You're looking like FootMob, their ratings. I sent a screenshot while the game was going on. I'm like, this is a problem. This could be a problem. It could be a problem. But I think you're going to see a lot of Chelsea games that look like this year, if that makes sense. Because the same thing that excites me about Chelsea, well, not the same thing. The one thing excites me about Chelsea, and that's their attack. Their defense scares me. Their goalkeeping situation, which of all the money they've spent in the last couple of years, the fact that they haven't made a significant investment in a solid goalkeeper is shocking. I don't think Sanchez is it. I don't think a lot of the back line is it. I'm not sold on like guys like Colwell. I think really only Reece, especially with Cucurella out the door, Reece James is the only guy I trust in that Chelsea back line. He played in the midfield today. They gave up 2 goals to Fulham that shouldn't have been goals. And I think you can make the argument, okay, maybe later in the season, that wouldn't happen again. Defense gets a little more comfortable playing with each other. Sanchez gets a couple games under his belt so far into the season. Because the attacking goals they scored today logically would still happen. Defensive mistakes, you wonder, okay, could they be fixed? Could they figure that out? And I'm just not 100% sure about that. That's my biggest concern about Chelsea, and I think it was shown today. It's their defense. Their defense is a little shaky. But they got the win because I think this attack's going to carry them to victory. If these front three can stay healthy, if they can play 40 games, each of them, that's going to be dangerous. I don't think this is a title contending team. But they're going to benefit from what Manchester United benefited from last year. And that is no Europe. Because when they finished last year, that's right, they finished 10th. So there's 10 Premier League games this season. And I wanted to do this last week, but I'm going to do it now. I'm going to give you Premier League predictions. Now, they're written on my phone. And they were written prior to the season starting, I promise. I texted them to people. Like, there's proof out there if I had to produce proof. But this is how I think the season's going to go. I'm just giving you like a quick, like one sentence on why I think it's going to go that way. We'll start from the top. 1, Arsenal. I think Arsenal's going to repeat as champions. They haven't really lost anyone significant. Solis looks like a solid addition to the team. Bruno Guimaraes is going to be a solid addition to the team. Looks solid in the Community Shield. Need to come up with a different word other than solid. But Guimaraes is suffering from a hamstring injury that will keep him out for like a little bit, but I don't think anything significant in the larger realm of Arsenal's season. Enzo Konsa, I think, is official. Yes, it is official since he got debuted at their game on Friday. I would expect maybe one more attacking signing. I know they're still pushing for Julian Alvarez. I know Gabriel Martinelli's basically out the door to Al Hilal at this point in Saudi Arabia. But yeah, I just think you look at the quote-unquote top 6, and I know the top 6, the big 6, might not necessarily be the 6 best teams in the Premier League at any given moment. but they are the most financially capable of all the teams. And I just think it makes a difference from the fact that Arsenal is the only team with the same coach they had a year ago. That that makes a difference. And that's why I got them repeating as champions. I think, barring a massively insane injury crisis, they should be all right. And the attack looks good so far. Number two, I want Liverpool. I really just have faith in Areola. I really like the core of the team. I think the team is solid. I really do. I think last year, I think they overperformed in their championship year, the year with Slot, the first year. I think they overperformed. And I think last year they underperformed. I think Liverpool should find a happy balance this year. I trust the manager. There's good players in the team. The signings like Munoz, I think they'll be all right. Three, I'm going City. City have two holes in their team that they need to figure some out. And it's a Pep Guardiola-sized hole and a Rodri-sized hole. There's a lot of talent in that team. Erling Haaland, his floor is literally 25 goals in all competitions, provided he stays healthy. Sharky, 10 assists, provided he stays healthy. There's talent in the City team, and there's talent that will overcome some of the doubts I have about Enzo Maresca as a manager. So that's why I got him third. Fourth, I got Chelsea. I really like Xabi Alonso as a manager. I think what he did at Bayer Leverkusen is probably the most impressive. In the last 10 years, is probably the most impressive thing a coach has done. I would say like even more impressive than like Luis Enrique taking PSG back-to-back in the Champions League. I think they're going to benefit from the lack of Champions League, which I mentioned a couple minutes ago. I do think it's a bloated squad. I think they need to sell guys. I know they need to sell guys literally from like a European financial standpoint, but I don't need to get into that right now. I also don't know the 100% specifics of that. I like the attack, but I don't like the depth. I like the six best players at Chelsea. I like Rodgers, Pedro, Palmer, Caicedo, Enzo, who kind of wants out, and Reece James. But I feel like outside of those six players, there's a drop-off. And that's a little concerning to me. 5, I went United, which isn't looking great right now based off their first result. All in all, I think there's a lot of talent in the team. I like the signings of Santos and Tielemans. Maybe bring in another left back or right back. They just need a little more help at the back. I think they're going to struggle a little bit with the fact that they're playing Champions League this year. But I think the continuity, another year with Carrick under the belt, I expect Benjamin Šeško to take another step forward. I mean, I think he still scored 10 goals in the Premier League, or at least in all competitions last season. And I think that will still, I think top 5 will get Champions League in England again. And I think they'll be all right. 6, I want Brentford. I promise you I did that. I look at Brentford, and I think the advantage I put at Brentford, they finished 9th last season. Right below the Bournemouth, Sunderland, Brightons of the world. They have the same manager, largely the same team, and I think they'll benefit from not playing in Europe, specifically the Europa League. I think there's certain teams I haven't listed yet that have been just absolutely torn apart this transfer window. And I think Brentford not having to slug it out on that Thursday to Sunday gauntlet that Brighton, Sunderland, Bournemouth, and Palace are going to have to deal with. I really like Brentford. I really like their attack. I mean, Damsgaard, Coyote, there's talent in this team. Roll on. 7, I want Spurs. I like the signings. I think the signings will work out. I like De Zerbi as a manager. I think they'll figure it out. I think a lot of the middle of the Premier League's in limbo, and Spurs, they have to get better. I can't imagine you put Senesi, probably Marmoush, Tonali, and other guys in a team and it doesn't get better. The goalkeeping situation is a little shaky. Richarlison, is that going to be your starting striker? I mean, maybe that's what Marmoush is for. That's a good point. They were linked with Cody Gakpo, but so is Man City now. So we'll see. I don't know. I'm going to stand by Spurs 7th. 8th, I went Forest. Forest could finish 8th or 18th. Yeah. Forest could finish 8th or 18th. Now, I will say, everything after the top 5, it took me like a day to really look at everyone. And I had all this stuff written, forgot to make a video, and now I'm giving you like one-word sentences and trying to do this in like less than 3 minutes. Forest, I mean, a lot of it comes down to coaching. Forest picked up Oliver Glasner from Crystal Palace, who took Crystal Palace to heights that previously they hadn't seen. The manager or the owner's insane. The guy from Greece, he's nuts. I don't remember his name off the top of my head, but I just really trust Glasner. Again, I'm really favoring the teams that aren't in Europe this year. I think you could see that last year in the Premier League table. And yeah, I mean Glasner, he's won an FA Cup, he's won a European trophy. He's a good manager. Ninth and going Villa. They've just lost so much. I mean, they've lost Rodgers, they've lost Tielemans. I think Ollie Watkins is probably out the door soon. They've lost Enzri Konsa. I just don't think they've brought enough in. They brought the young Swiss midfielder, whose name I had written down when I originally did this list, and I don't have it in front of me right now. Manzambi. Yeah, he's good. He's good. They've brought in like John McGinn's still there. There's talent there. I think they're linked with Rafael Leao. I saw that. I think Fabrizio Romano posted that today. I don't know. They're in the Champions League. They've qualified for the Champions League, and they've like broken down their team. And I know PSR is a bitch, and I know other financial constraints, but I'm a little worried. I'm a little worried about that. A little worried about them in that regard. 10th went Brighton. I trust the Brighton machine. They're probably going to go deep in the Conference League. They're going to be favorites to win the Conference League. And I think just the extra games. I mean, Palace finished 15th last year, and they were starting good teams in the Conference League. I think it's going to cost Brighton, but I love the Brighton machine. 11th, I went Newcastle, which do I really see them improving upon last season? Losing Bruno G, losing Tonali? No. But I just really like them ahead of other teams. Again, not in Europe. They were in Europe last year. We'll see. 12th, I went Bournemouth. I like the Bournemouth. I like Bournemouth. I like the talent on that team. They're in Europe. That's gonna hurt. 13th, I went Leeds. They really picked it up towards the end of the season. Farke's good manager. It seems like they've got a really good organization behind them. I think it'll pay dividends, but I don't think just yet. 14th, I went Everton. Trust David Moyes. I think if their attack can figure it out, it could go maybe a little bit higher. Decent signs first week of the season. But yeah. 15th, I went Fulham. I just don't love their transfer window. I think they're going to regress a little bit. I don't think it's enough to be relegated. Boom. 16th, I went Palace. Feel like they've lost a lot. Feel like they haven't replaced a lot. They didn't look good match week 1. Again, I wrote that before then. Losing Glasner is going to hurt. And they're in Europe. They're in the Europa League. They finished 15th last year, making a deep European run. So I think maybe a little one spot lower. 17th, I went Coventry. I wanted one team just for the sake of a team that wasn't in... Like, I don't want one of the teams that just recently got promoted to say they're going to get relegated. So I want Coventry. I don't know. I just think watching them last year, they dominated the championship. Yeah, it wasn't the greatest result at Arsenal week 1. But it's like, yeah, Arsenal's probably the second, third best team in Europe. I mean, yeah. 18th, I went Sunderland. They overperformed last year by every metric. You know, they only got they didn't really score a lot of goals. It was like a vibes team. And it was awesome to watch. Like, I don't want to hate. But a team that overperformed last year, they haven't really made a lot of signings this year, and they're going to be in the Europa League, which is a minimum of 8 games. I think that could cost them. I think if the one team in the Premier League, I was thinking maybe Fulham, but I think it's going to be Sunderland. If one team's going to go down. 19th, I went Ipswich. I like the signings, but I don't know. It's so hard to stay up in the Premier League. 20th, I went Hull. I know they're just coming off the big win, but by every conceivable metric and statistic, besides what actually gets you there, they didn't deserve to. I mean, they almost got relegated 2 years ago from the championship. They weren't statistically a good team, yet they qualified. So fuck statistics, I guess. And then they won the playoffs and they made it to the Premier League. So who knows? Maybe they can keep the magic run going. Speaking of runs, I'm running over time. So we're going to have to roll through the rest of Europe quickly. There's not really a lot. The Italian league started up, which is always a good one. It's getting like, I feel like the Italian league gets a little worse every year because I just looked at the rosters of Milan, Inter, Roma, Juventus, and it does get worse. But nonetheless, still super entertaining. Inter hit the ground running with a 4-1 win over Monza. Goals from Chakanoglu, Zelensky, Esposito, Bisek. I wonder if they had some of the new players. Yeah, Esposito is a really exciting young talent. You like to see that in the Italian league. Kanji starting, Bastoni starting, no John Stones yet. It's a good team. I mean, it's a good lineup. Probably gonna win the Italian. Probably gonna win Serie A again. Como, Drew Udinese. Como, I was really excited for. You know, they've got Cesc Fabregas as a manager. They've been investing a lot of money. Probably one of the more successful transfer windows of any Italian team so far. It's not a great result. Napoli went to Genoa, picked up a 2-0 win. This was all on Saturday. And then on Sunday, you had Juventus go to Frosinone, pick up a 1-0 win. Kind of looked a little shaky, but they were the better team, and once they went up 1-0, they just saw it out. Milan with a tricky 2-1 win at Torino. I mean, they went up 2-0 and gave up a late goal, but wasn't the best performance by them. Atalanta with a 2-1 win over Sassuolo. And then today on Monday, Roma with a beat down of Fiorentina 4-0. Hat trick from Daniel Malin, one of their new summer signings. And I believe Lazio got the best of Bologna. So Italian league started up. Spain also was rolling this weekend, but Spain started last week. I kind of talked about it. It was like there was a rule with like the players union that if so many players went deep in the World Cup, you couldn't start for so long after that. So Real Madrid and Barcelona and even Atletico to an extent started their season later than the rest. So this year or this week was the first like everyone was playing. Like Real Madrid, and it was a tale of two cities too, because Real Madrid, they went up early, Bellingham. Then Espanyol, so they went to Barcelona, but not to play Barcelona. They played Espanyol, like Barcelona's Catalan rivals. And it took a 90th minute winner by Espy to get him over the line. I mean, they were the better team throughout the win, but you know, Jose Mourinho was pumped up. Now I saw a video of the reactions from like a wider screen, like all 22 in football of everyone. And the Real Madrid players, a lot of them on the pitch didn't seem like happy by the fact that they won. I mean, I don't know, maybe it's frustrating, you know. I don't know. I would like to see a little more emotion, you know. You want a last minute winner, you know, it's a league game. Probably should be doing a little bit better, but it's tough, you know, tough place to go. Jose Mourinho back at Real Madrid. Love to see it. Not really a Real Madrid fan, but I'm a Jose Mourinho fan. I think he brings an excitement and kind of drama. He's like male soap opera. You just watch him. I mean, he was doing a press conference. He said, I let the team know the lineup and only the team. So now we'll see what journalists have the best connections or contacts. Love that. Give me more of that. I cannot wait for the first El Clasico. But speaking of their El Clasico rivals, Barcelona had a much better first game of the year. They went to Elche and just thoroughly dominated it. It wasn't particularly close. Double from Rafinha, double for Lopez. Adeyemi got a goal. Anthony Gordon off the bench, 2 assists. One of them really unselfish. Unfortunately, Gavi. Actually, I think it didn't end up being as bad. I had it written down originally that it was like another just kind of tragic knee injury for Gavi, who's just dealt with so many injuries over the years. But I think now it's not like a report came out today that it's not looking as bad. And then, the French league started. PSG played Rennes. They dropped points. They also didn't have a ready stadium. Like, the grass wasn't ready. I know there's a heat wave going through the UK. I don't know if it's extended to all of Europe. But it's like, dude, you're like 2-time Champions League winning, one of the wealthiest clubs in the world. How the hell's your grass not ready week one? So they paid for it. They had to go to Rennes. They dropped points 2-2. I mean, yeah, they'll still probably win the French league. I can't imagine a world where PSG don't win the French league. But Lens picked up a dub. Monaco picked up a dub. Lyon picked up a dub. Ferran Torres, I mean, they had to come back too. They were down 2-0. Ferran Torres got a double in his, I think, official debut for PSG because, you know, the rich just keep getting richer. And it's a pretty strong lineup from PSG, you know. Doué, Dembele, Kvicha starting, Neves, Vitinha, Zaire Emery in the midfield, Hakimi, Hernandez, Pacho, Marquinhos, Safonov back line. Yeah, that's their back line. And then Bayern beat Dortmund in the Franz Beckenbauer Cup. That was about it. That's a good episode. Where are we at? Like probably 40 minutes. We'll trim some of this fat. Yeah, if you made it this far, this is Monday of Talk Soccer to Me. This is gonna be the vibe. This week we'll kind of lay out how I want it to go. 3 shorter episodes instead of the hell that I was putting myself through trying to get long episodes out. This one ended up being actually a little longer than I expected, but okay, no big deal. Yeah, no, that's how it's gonna be going forward. Mondays are gonna recap the weekend. Wednesdays they're gonna be a little different. We'll find out about it on Wednesday, and then Friday is gonna recap the week because within a week or two, I mean, the Champions League draw is this week. The last round of the Champions League playoff round is this week, so like we'll know who's playing who in the Champions League. And yeah, Wednesday we'll talk about Wednesday on Wednesday, but there's gonna be a Wednesday show. It's a different show. I'm not labeling it in the Talk Soccer to Me episodes. It's gonna be by me. It's gonna be like in the Talk Soccer to Me show world. It was a different type of show. It's a Wednesday show. Anyway, if you made it this far, I love you. It's Talk Soccer to Me. Best soccer podcast you never heard of. My name's Jack. It's Monday. Season's starting. It's great. Videos up on all streaming platforms. YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe, send it to someone. I'm not doing a lot of advertisement on social media because it's a lot of work. And I'm really bad at it. Doctor said I had ADHD. Who knows? Thank you. Peace. Love you. Goodbye. Send this to your grandma. This show was brought to you by no one because I don't have any sponsors. Maybe one day someone will let me sell out. Adios.